Great. And when considering a DR location, what are the advantages or disadvantages to selecting a remote site versus a local site?
So it's probably more around mitigating your risk, that make sure that local site is outside of your risk, that you're comfortable with, and the balance of that between your people, how you're going to operate, and then also the connectivity that you're going to need between the two sites during the time that the data is being replicated or the data is being backed up. So a combination of those things usually drive where the offsite is going to be. And once again, there could be the political reason too that I explained earlier with the Christian organization about where that site's going to be too. So all different reasons. The number one that I hear people talk about is probably more around who needs to be at that site, and can my people get to it, or can I have somebody else help me to recover my systems there?
Thanks, Mike. And I probably should have mentioned this up front, but I did get a question here about will this webinar be accessible to everyone afterwards? And yes, we will be sending you an email to download the recorded webinar later this week, so you will get that. Let's see, there's another question coming in here. How detailed, system-specific will the tabletop exercises be?
How detailed? That's a good question. We're okay going very deep with it, and at times maybe you're not ready to go that deep. Maybe the tabletop needs to be around a general process first and the general idea about how people think and where people think they're going to go and what they're going to do in case of a disaster. Once we go through, probably if you are doing your DR plan, you probably need to plan for about 2 or 3 of these. The first one may be kind of a high level, or maybe you're ready to go to maybe more of the detail level one. The detail level one, before you go out and buy a bunch of stuff and commit to a bunch of RTO, RPO times, you do want to eventually get to a detail one so people understand, and we call it the 2-minute drill, so people understand exactly how is this going to be done, because there's probably some devils in like the details there. So do about 2 or 3 tabletop tests, and definitely I like the idea of marking twice and cutting once, because as soon as you make a commitment and all of a sudden you've got a gotcha because you're not meeting some expectation, it's hard to reverse that, or it could be very expensive too.
Great. And here's another question. Who usually attends a DR for the day appointment?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. Usually, it's very good to get the business managers into it. Maybe IT is not ready for that at times. Maybe they just want to do it themselves, just with IT and us, and then later we bring in the business unit managers. If an organization isn't sure what the requirements are, bring in the business unit managers. Bring in your executives, the CEO, CFO, COO, CIO, those folks to help with these dialogues. Sometimes we'll get brought in just to facilitate these discussions, and we're really good on clarifying some of these responses or some of these questions to both sides. So if a CEO is saying, well, you just need to get it done. Well, okay, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, what does that mean for your IT group? And we're good on asking those questions too with it. So ideally, business units and IT, maybe at times though it's just IT because they already know what the objectives are.
Okay. Here's another question. We are a hospital, and our primary and secondary centers are in the same location. Do you see many companies in the same situation? Obviously, this is a high risk. We're making plans to move it out off-site. So I guess the question is, do you commonly see this?
I do see people starting maybe at the campus. Maybe it's a campus or between 2 buildings. That isn't a bad strategy if you can isolate whatever your DR site is in your like DR building, and with the idea that you can now take that environment and move it to any other data center outside of your risk area. So don't just connect up servers to the regular network or systems or databases or whatever and have them replicate just across your same network. Purposely design an IT logical network, that you can move that whole logical network when you go to offsite further. So if you're going to do it, logically, build it so you could cut and paste that onto some other data center. You don't have to go through a bunch of other changes with routing, IP addressing schemes, data flows, and all those other things that could possibly change. So having it local until you get an idea about how your technology works isn't a bad deal. Just move it. When you move it, plan for that move when you're building it locally.
Great. So those are all the questions I see, Mike.
Okay, great.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks, everyone, for joining this webcast. You will receive emails and information on the DR for a Day program as well as downloading this webinar. So that concludes our broadcast, and I thank everyone for joining. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Nav. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.